This is the Fort Bend Herald Football Scoreboard Show with Joel Luna and Sam Cinta, bringing you this week's latest on the gridiron from around the Bend.
All right, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Fort Bend Herald Scoreboard Show. I am Sam Cinta here with Joel Luna, excited to bring you guys the pilot, the first episode of the Fort Bend Herald Scoreboard Show, where we're going to be bringing you guys stats and scores and stories of all the football action from both inside Fort Bend County, LCISD, and Needville, and just kind of all around the surrounding area as well. And I mean, man, kind of hard to believe, Joel. Can you believe that we're already here, week one, getting ready to start tomorrow night as we record this here Wednesday? Feels like just yesterday that you and I were in the press box at AT&T Stadium watching the Lions win it all against Dallas South Oak Cliff. And can you believe that we're already here getting ready to start another season?
Time goes by fast, man. Real fast. Off-season, spring football, summer camps, and now here we are. Training camp is just about over, or it is over, and now they're preparing for their first games on Thursday. It's unbelievable the way the time kind of runs by. But hey, you know that's the way it is, and for us, this is going to be fun.
This episode of the Fort Bend Herald Scoreboard Show is brought to you by the Ace Hernandez team. Got a quick message from those guys before we dive into all of this week's action.
Looking to make your next real estate move but unsure where to start? The Ace Hernandez team at Manor Lane Southwest has you covered. The Ace Hernandez team is Fort Bend and Southwest Houston's real estate experts with 75 years of experience in guiding homeowners and home buyers alike. Contact the Ace Hernandez team at 281-762-6757 and find out more about their seller financing options today.
And while there are 3 games on the Thursday slate, of course, right? Houston Worthing at Terry, George Ranch at Houston Westside, and then Fulshire meeting with Pearland at Road Stadium up the road in Katy. I think there's no question the big game, the marquee matchup under the Knights, Friday night, Trailer Stadium between Foster and Randle. It's a matchup of 2 playoff teams. Of course, we know what Randle's bringing to the table, right? 16-game winning streak. State champions in 5A D2. Bringing back all-world running back Landon Williams-Callis. You got senior starting quarterback in Tyler Skrbanek. They return the defensive MVP from the state title game in Ryan Mallory. I know they're excited about the new contributions of Noriel Pac-Man Dominguez, Julian Jarena, Kamar Chavez-Brown. But a lot of talent graduated, walked across that stage, Randall High School. They lost Chase Sims, Sherrod Rivas, Blake Thompson, LeJalen Miller, Jackson Montalongo, Keelan Sweeney, Christian Munguia, Sincere Timpson, Sean Smith. I'm running out of breath just trying to name all of the seniors on that Randall team that contributed so much to that state title. Still a talented team, but between the losses that they had on the roster and the departures of coaches like co-offensive coordinator Brooks Hack to Spring Branch Memorial and Stephen Hill, of course, to Fulshire, this is going to be a big matchup for Randall to see what they've got on the field, see what the new guys to that roster can kind of bring in terms of life. And I think it's interesting. You look back to last year, Randall won that matchup 35-14, but if you talk to Brian Randall, it was not a good performance from the Lions. There was a slow start. It was not what they were looking to do right out of the gates. So I think he had some interesting things to say about what he's expecting out of this Lions group on Friday night.
The biggest thing is just us not hurting us. Mm-hmm. Like, we got to go out there and do what we do. We've harped on starting fast. We have to have a better showing this year than we did last year. Last year we didn't play very well against Foster. We didn't play very well against Elsick, and then we finally started getting it together when we played Travis and so on and so forth. So it took us about a good 3-4 weeks before we started playing quality football. Yeah, the score might say one thing, but like I knew, execution is everything, and then when you plan on making deep runs into December, coaching matters. You're not going to just go out there and win off of talent.
Right.
So you have to put the kids in position to be successful. We have to call plays that did work. The most important thing that we're looking for, and then what I'm really looking for, is to start fast. I want to start fast. We got 2 new offensive coordinators. We got a new play caller in Phil Wilson, and we got to see, I've been harping all summer long. Well, heck, since the spring when we brought him in. You know, you got big shoes to fill. I know he's capable of the job. He was my assistant head coach at May Creek back in 2020. So he's really, really good. Outstanding mind. He's a quarterback guru. You know, so we really needed him, honestly.
Sure.
You know, so we did a really good job hiring him, and then bringing in Chris Towery and some of the other pieces. We should be fine, but ideally, if we can go out here, start fast, execute, and not panic, I think we'll be fine. We just got to weather the early storm.
I think it's always interesting to see what coaches are worried about before a game. I think it's one thing for us as writers and reporters to look at a roster and look at what we knew from a team from a season ago and kind of wonder what's going to change year in and year out. But we're not at practice every day. We're not at tryouts. We're not at camp every day to the extent that they are in the film room and everything. So I think it's interesting to kind of peek in a little bit and see what's eating at Coach Randle a little bit ahead of this game as opposed to what we might have thought he was thinking about and worried about, you know, getting ready to play the Foster Falcons. What did you take away from what Coach Randle had to say?
Coach Randle is a smart man, and he's been a smart man for quite some time. With his experience wherever he's been, he's learned things here and there. He got to the last few years when he started Randle up, and now he's got to this point, got to last year's point actually, and he pushed all the right buttons at the right time. So now here we go. He's got a championship under his belt, but he wants another one. So here we go. What is Coach Randle going to do? Well, he's going to have to shine better than he did last year. And the only way to do that is to not believe in his team, but believe in his team. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's kind of like, it's hard to understand sometimes, but, you know, his players are going to do a lot of good things on the football field. But to Coach Randle, it's not going to be good enough. And that's the way he should take it. Even though if they win 73-0, he's going to find a few things with that football game. So, hey, take it as you want. But that is a fantastic quote right there by him because he is right. It's not good enough until you get to AT&T Stadium.
Is there a player this season on this Randle team that you are particularly excited to see how he fits into this puzzle? I mean, obviously, we know the big ones, Randle, Landon Williams-Callis and Tyler Skrbanek, but are there maybe somebody else that you saw on the run or somebody that you're looking forward to maybe taking a big step to filling some of the holes that have been left by graduation?
Tyler Skrbanek. He's got to take a big step. And he does because, I mean, he's a very good athlete. He knows how to throw the ball well. But I hope he did a lot of good stuff in the off season, in the summer camps. I hope he understands that a lot is going to be on his shoulders. Okay. He's not going to have that Sweeney behind him. You know, it's going to be him only. Well, not only, but I'm just saying that in reference to that, not having that capable backup like that, he's got to step up and stay in the game the whole game.
And for the Falcons, right? I mean, I think we saw this pretty clearly. If you were to watch the Foster Falcons team week 1 that lost to the Lions versus the team that took the field against Katy Jordan in the bi-district round of the playoffs, I think that playoff Foster team wins by 3 or 4 scores. I legitimately am not sure if there's a team that we covered that came further from the beginning of the season to the end of the season than that Foster Falcons team. They're coming off a really down year in Hanks' first season at the helm. Mm-hmm. Boy, did they turn it around. And I remember talking with Coach Hanks at the beginning of the season before a down of football had been played. And he told me that was a playoff team. Mm-hmm. He told me without so much as a 500 season under his belt, without any experience on the 6A circuit, that team was going to make the playoffs in that district. He called it from the jump. He was right. He knew what he had. He knew that it was going to take a little bit of pushing to get that team to come along to where it is. Mm. I think the expectations should be much different this year. As, hey, this is a team that might make the playoffs, maybe should make the playoffs too. This is a team that should, be right in the mix at the top of that district race. Mm-hmm. This is a team that could challenge for a win or two in the postseason. A lot to like with Hanks' group. And I think what you'll hear Coach Hanks talk about in this upcoming quote is a lot of it is just, number one, the comfort with the coaching staff and the players now that he's had that extra time in that position. But just the players that are there, the senior leadership. You talk about, Eli Smith, the linebacker, and Sean Bubba McDowell up front. Mm-hmm. A big defensive front that might have a lot to say in this game against the Lions.
You know what? If you want to be the best, you got to play the best. Like they say. So we're looking forward to it. Looking forward to the challenge. I do feel like you said, we are better.
Sure.
Just across the board, talent-wise. I think part of it, a lot of it too, is just senior leadership and just the leadership we have in the locker room, and just guys that have been around the program. They know now my expectations. So these seniors are the guys that were freshmen whenever I got the job, and had them for that off season. So they do know the expectations of what I expect and how we practice and everything. So it's you start to see all that.
Sure.
See all that in play, and like I said, just looking forward to the challenge, of playing Randall. Now, would you want that type of team game one? Maybe give me game two. Maybe give me game two or game three. Get
sure.
some wrinkles out, But I mean, hey, we've had a great. I don't know what you want to call it, fall camp. It's not even fall weather, but
yeah.
Great, start of our season, and two good scrimmages. So I do feel good about having two scrimmages underneath our belt, and so I think we'll be very well polished going into Friday night, and just look forward to see what we can do.
Gee, and like I said, I think there's a lot to like in what Coach Hanks is taking away from where his team is right now, and a lot of optimism. He's the perennial optimist. I don't know if there's a lot of coaches around here that think as positively as Shane Hanks does day in and day out. But, man, I think you and I can both kind of feel the energy around this program this year, and we're kind of expecting a big step forward.
It feels different with Foster when you go to their field house, when you see their players, watch them on the field. But, I've been watching Foster football since 2004. From the very first time that I saw them, I knew that this team was going to be different. Different because they look it. They look the part. Now they're a 6A program, 1 year in. And yeah, they've had a lot of changes. They have a lot of different coaches. And they lost some players to Tomas. So, there's a lot that's going on with that program, but yet Hanks has brought this group together, and now I think they're clicking. They're going to click better. They're going to be more united as a team. And yes, they're very, very prideful. Losing to Rando is not something that they liked. Off-season, spring ball, summer, that's all they thought about. What game are they getting ready for? Randall, because they want to test themselves right away. So this is going to be a clash. This is going to be a game that could be different.
And you mentioned look different. They say, this Foster team just looks different. They're certainly going to look a little bit different on Friday night. They're debuting some brand new white helmets, really cool logo. I can't wait for you guys to see them. It's a white base helmet, got a gold stripe going down the middle with black stripes on the outside, with the gold outline of the state of Texas and the Foster Falcon kind of peering through that logo. Here's Coach Hanks talking about what went into the helmet and a little bit of inspiration that he got for it from his son at East Texas Baptist.
Kind of the decal, kind of old with the new, I guess. Whenever I first got here, we had the state of Texas with the F inside of it.
Okay.
The F is kind of positioned, where Richmond is located, so I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then, with the Falcon head inside of it. And also, my son transferred to ETBU. He's playing football over there this year.
Okay.
My son Connor. And anyway, so their logo looks just like that. So he came home with the shirt one day. He's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I want to see if I can, what that looks like with a Falcon head inside of it. So, and that guy that does our decals designed it up for me. He's like, man, that looks sharp. so a little old and little new. So.
No, that's cool. Do you guys know when you're going to be rolling those out yet? Like for game stuff or?
Friday night.
Nice.
So we're the visitors. So we're going to icy white.
Man, can't wait to see those helmets. I'm sure they're gonna look great under the bright lights Friday night, especially with the all white look that they're going. I'm sure Randall's gonna do something probably all black. It's gonna be great contrast out there, great uniform matchup. And I mean, really, without further ado, right? I mean, we got only a few hours now before games start. Talking about Randall and Foster, meeting on the gridiron. I know that Randall lost a lot talent-wise. The defense is going to look much different. The offense is going to look very different, certainly with who's calling the plays and how they go about it. But you talk to Coach Randall, and he says, look, we do things the way that we do it. Mm-hmm. The players kind of adapt to it. We're not really going to be adapting too much to who's in the locker room. It's just a matter of them learning the way that we do things. So that being said, I think that while this Randall team is going to look a lot different on paper, we see a lot of the same things from Randall. I think I still project the Lions to win this game by multiple scores. But I will say, with the experience and the talent up front for Foster, be a hard time to see Landon Williams-Callis getting more than 100 games. I'm going to go ahead and call right now. They held him to fewer than 80 rushing yards last year. They're going to hold him under 100 rushing yards again this year. He may break 100 in all-purpose. They may get some passes here and there. We've got to see how that works in with Skrbanek throwing him the ball. But that's going to be my hot take, is that we're going to see 99 or fewer rushing yards from the best running back in America in the class of 2027, Landon Williams-Callis.
Foster has a defense. Foster has a very good defense.
Big time. If
there's somebody that can do it, it's their defense, especially those front four.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. Hey, Foster, as I mentioned, this is a first game. First game of the season for both teams. Yes, it's a big game, but you know that they're going to have some difficulties somewhere around the field. Both teams are, okay? But Foster, watch out for Foster. There, as I mentioned before, this is a different team. This year, you can see it. You're going to feel it. But mostly, you're going to hear it on the field. And that's a very good thing for Foster, because they're used to going to the playoffs every year. They're used to getting to places. I saw some big clashes against Angleton with Foster trying to get to state, okay, at the NRG Stadium, okay? So these guys are used to this kind of stuff. Coach Hanks was there for that kind of stuff. So he's experienced, obviously.
Been around the block, man.
Right?
Yep.
And it's a 6A against a 5A. 6A against a 5A. And you think they're going to go in there and just lay down? No way, bud. This is going to be a good game. I can't predict much, only to say that it's going to be closer.
Closer.
Yeah. It's going to be closer. Even toward the end, it's going to be closer. Only because of the way Foster has changed from what they weren't 2 years ago to what they became last year, but now even more.
Yeah.
So watch out.
In need of professional care with a personal touch? Physical Therapy Care and Aquatic Rehab of Fort Bend can get you back to work, life, and play free from pain. With locations in Richmond and the Fulshire-Katy area, Physical Therapy Care and Aquatic Rehab of Fort Bend offers orthopedics, sports medicine, vertigo and balance rehab, and post-surgical rehab, and more. Call today at 281-344-8900 and find out how Physical Therapy Care and Aquatic Rehab of Fort Bend can listen, educate, and return you to functional independence.
Of course, we mentioned it earlier. Foster-Randle is it's not the only game. It's not even the first game going on this weekend. We got a great slate on Thursday. Couple good games on Friday as well, and then of course one more opening weekend wrap up at Traylor Stadium on Saturday. I think another interesting team that we're looking at. You and I have talked about this in the newsroom, leading up to this season. Terry Rangers, man. Weird, I think, is a really good way to describe the season they had last year between injuries and illness and, backup, starting games at quarterback and doing their best. And Darnell Jackson's always going to have that team playing hard. They're going to be running around there. It's just a matter of having the right guys in the right spots. Mm-hmm. They're playing a really good Houston Worthing team that put a good show on them last year. 31-0, I think was the score, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think? I mean, where's Terry at? It feels like, again, talking with them, Coach Jackson is another optimist. but there's a different energy and confidence, it feels like, with this year's Ranger group than last.
He's got more kids than he's ever had in his 5 years this season. That's 50 kids. You know, he's averaged about, what, 30, 35 kids?
I think he was at 33 last year, something like that.
Going up against 5A in a district that they play in. So, yeah, the confidence is when you go to their workouts and you see them work out in training camp. I mean, Coach Jackson and his coaches do a good job of keeping those boys up because, I mean, I would have been down a long time ago as far as all the running, all the pushing, everything that goes on in a session. And that's just a session. You got to wait till the end, okay? You got to wait till the final, the final, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes when they do all those lines and everything. Oh, my goodness. Terry is a program that we're hoping is on the way up. We're hoping that they get more than 2 wins. We're hoping, and this is a big hope, that they do better in district, okay, which is going to be real tough, okay? Terry is still Terry in a lot of ways, but the fight is there. So let's see what happens with that team right there.
Last year, I remember toward the end of the season, I was watching a quarterback develop in real time. You're watching throws be made at the end of the season that weren't even being tried earlier in the year. Mm-hmm. Stepping into throws with confidence, quick reads, trusting your first read, trusting your second read, not running out of the pocket, even if it gets a little tight, because you know you're anticipating a guy getting to a spot. Man, Ryland Forks grew so much over the course of last year for Fulshear, right? That's a running team, especially with Coach Caduti last year, Patrick Broadway and Zane Smith and Demarius Fro. There's a team that's just going to run the ball down your throat all the time. But Ryland Forks was a weapon in the passing game by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. This season was Stephen Hill, right? I know that this team lost a lot, but Ryland Forks is an opportunity to become the 3rd starting quarterback at Fulshear in a row to play NCAA Division I football. Mm-hmm. He mentioned this game against Pearland last year as a big measuring stick for him, as he struggled. He threw some picks. The offense did not do what it wanted to do. They only scored 19 points in a win. Mm-hmm. But now I'm interested to see what Forks is going to look like against this Oilers defense now that he feels more like a varsity high school quarterback.
A lot's going on with Ryland Forks. Yeah. Look at the offseason. Look at the time he's had with Stephen Hill's coaches now. Different program, different everything for Fulshear. Fulshear's made a complete turnaround in the way they were thinking last year with Caduti, and now with Hill, completely different in a lot of ways. A lot of things have happened. So watching Fulshear take on Pearland for the 2nd year in a row, last year was a dogfight, and they barely got by.
And I think it's worth noting, too, we talked about the offense almost exclusively there. That Fulshear defense lost a lot of. You were talking about Randall losses defensively from last year. Sheldon Rice, Caleb Augustus are gone at UH. Chance Bryant is starting at Sam linebacker for the Houston Cougars this weekend. Mm-hmm. He was playing for the Chargers last year and is going to be a starting linebacker for a Big 12 team. Big test for Fulshear against Pearland to see how the young new pieces on that defense are going to perform against a team that very nearly beat them last year.
And I thought Zane Smith was going to be eating El Pato tacos in the Rio Grande Valley with UTRGV, but now he's in Houston. And a lot of those Fulshear players from last year, I mean, they're at the front with those Cougars and that defense and the offense as well. Some of those players are going to be in the mix before you know it. But going back to this year and what they lost, it's going to be tougher for that defense because they lost a lot. So Pearland is loaded, as always, every year. Every year they're loaded. And they got a good staff this year. They got a good roster coming in. It'll be interesting to see them at Rhodes Stadium. That's an icon place for these two to pick a place like that and just kind of duke it out. It'll be interesting.
I don't know if I went to a locker room this offseason, talked to coaches, talked to players this offseason, that were more frustrated. And maybe frustrated is not the right word. I think it maybe has a negative connotation. More hungry to right the wrongs of last season than George Ranch. The Longhorns want to get back in the playoffs. That's the expectation in that program. And it's been a little while since they've won playoff games there. They're celebrating 10 years since that 15 state championship team with Darius Anderson, Quentin Morris, and those guys, right? Mm-hmm. This team, one more Drinker brother at Hayden Drinkard at running back. They got Tony Morrison at quarterback. They got some key pieces defensively coming back. This team feels like this year not only is a playoff spot right there for grabbing, so is that district title in 26A.
He's got some key players, but Coach Vogt learned a lot this past season, especially about Texas football, being the main man in a state that it breathes this game. And Coach Vogt, of course, a collegiate coach in a lot of ways.
Citadel,
went through a lot of programs, different programs in out of states. Okay, and then he comes to Texas and spends 1 year with Randall. Okay, and then he says, "Okay, I'm ready to do this." But he learned some things last year. And now I think he's ready. He's got some key pieces that could put him there on both sides of the ball. It could be a different year for the George Ranch Longhorns, especially with the celebration of that state championship in 2015 coming up. And then, of course, district. I think district will be interesting. And even though they put them out of the playoffs this year, especially with Texas football, I think they have a chance to get in a bigger way, especially with the running of who.
And that's a West Side team they beat last year. Of course, they beat them at Trailer, so now they've got to go on the road to Houston and return, kind of do the same thing. But going on the road week 1 and getting a road win would be a heck of a way to start the season.
Yep.
Another team starting the year on the road, and another team that beat this opponent in week 1 last year, Needville. Beat Columbia 21-14. That's another team. I mean, I said Ryland Forks came a long way as a passer, as a sophomore quarterback last year. So did Cameron Hall at Needville, right? He stepped in, had never started, was probably expecting to be the backup quarterback behind Keelan Sweeney in that Needville offense. And he's playing alongside Kobe Campbell, who is expecting to be the backup running back in that offense behind Deshaun Burton, who also went to Randall. So now, that being said, a playoff team a year ago with a sophomore starting quarterback and a sophomore running back returns this year with a junior starting quarterback and a junior starting running back, both who got a ton of valuable experience a year ago.
2 juniors that are going to play a big part in that system this year. Why? Because they're confident and they believe in themselves. Plus, they're good friends. So they talk all the time. Hey, they go out and they say what they need to say and get through what they need to get through. And they went through a lot. I mean, just being told, hey, you know what? One day you're a backup and then the next day you're a starter. Just like that. Kobe had never carried the ball more than 30 times in a game. He found out how hard that was. But hey, they stood still. It was tough at first.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season. They got through it. They went through district and did their part. So now with a year of experience of just being there, being in the limelight, it's hard at times. It's not easy, but they made it through, and now they're here. They've got a year off season off, and they've got a time to go.
And I think it's the other part of it. I think that's interesting there. You watch Needville's 7-on-7 team, right? They're one of the teams that we cover out here that takes part in that circuit. But if you watch them play at the 7-on-7 tournament in Needville, they did not have their starting quarterback. Senior safety and a guy who plays some time at receiver, Colton Butler, played a quarterback for Needville in that game. It's pretty obvious, and I'm not trying to knock on Colton at all. It's pretty obvious it wasn't a quarterback playing quarterback in 7-on-7. You know as well as anybody, that's a passing game. Yep. There's no running, so you had Kobe out there running around as a receiver when he'd really rather be getting the ball handed off to him or having some misdirection that gets him the ball in the passing game wide open. So you saw an offense that kind of struggled a little bit in the 7-on-7 game, that now that when you get Hall back there taking the ball, it's going to be an entirely different set of plays that the Jays are able to run, and hopefully it works out well for them against a Columbia team that, frankly, is bringing back a lot of talent from a year ago.
This was a team, Columbia, that hadn't been in the playoffs only twice since 2015.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, last year they were a big surprise in that district. And, I've been around those Columbia teams for many years. And they're tough kids, man. They're just like a lot of kids out here. They practice hard and they go at it hard. So it's not surprising that they pulled that, the way they played last year, especially under a first-year head coach, I think it was, Peña.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, expect a war there. It's not going to be easy, and that's a 28th meeting. Okay, so to know what the record is, I'm not sure because I've got some discrepancies in my history. So, but I know that it's going to be a good game, and fans should enjoy it.
Wrapping up the weekend, I mean, it's kind of funny. The oldest school in Lamar Consolidated ISD has to wait the longest amount of time to start its new era. Mm-hmm. Chris Lane, first-year head coach. He has been an assistant for decades. Plural, and is now finally getting a crack as a head coach here at Lamar Consolidated. He leads the Mustangs against Fort Bend Willow Ridge Saturday evening at Traylor Stadium in Rosenberg. It was a tough year for the Mustangs last year. There's no bones about it. You're playing in the district they play in. Had some tough games in the non-conference. This game feels maybe a little bit more up for grabs, just given kind of what Willow Ridge has on its roster as well, being a 4A program against a 5A program. I know you spent a lot of time around Chris Lane and kind of the new energy, new life he's breathing into this program. What's kind of the vibe around the Mustangs and this game they got coming up against the Eagles?
Chris Lane is in charge. He's a difference maker. You can hear it, and you can see it in the players. I mean, that's just a different vibe around there. It's a very good vibe. I mean, you want to see that kind of vibe, and you want to see it grow. And with Chris Lane in charge, it's going to happen. I mean, he's, of course, very positive like many other coaches, but it just feels different. He wants it to really get this team where it needs to be. And that's back to the 2007 year, okay?
if you'll humor a baseball analogy here for a little bit, I know it's not exactly the same situation, but this watching Lane operate with the Mustangs and watching kind of how this program has re-energized itself, like an online presence, a little bit more robust in the recruiting trail. I think back to the off season between the 2014 and the 2015 season of Major League Baseball. What makes me think about that is I'm a Cubs fan, and so this will be my little shameless plug, of Chicago Cubs stuff here. But the Cubs are coming off a team, I think they lost 97, 98 games in 2014. But the last few weeks of the season, you have your September call-ups. It was a lot of the younger guys that you have been hearing about in the system getting their first crack in the league. You saw Jorge Soler debuted with the team. Javier Baez debuted with the team at the end of that year. Jake Arrieta wasn't quite the Cy Young performer that he was in 2015, but he was emerging as a viable option at the starting rotation. Kyle Hendricks debuted. He was also so there was energy. The team, the final record looked really bad, but I think savvy fans saw that team at the end of the season go, better days are very, very near. Mm-hmm. That offseason, they fired Rick Renteria, who had been the manager, had done nothing wrong, had done a good job of bringing those young guys around. But there was a new coach that was available. Joe Madden came in, and immediately the Cubs won 97 wins. The following season, were 4 wins away from going to the World Series, and then the next year, of course, 103 wins, first pennant since 1945, and the first World Series since 1908. It's not the same situation because, again, what I think is similar, I should say, is Kai Johnson didn't do anything wrong at Lamar Consolidated. It was a tough hand that he was dealt in terms of rosters and what was available to him. But sometimes all that matters is the change of voice. Mm-hmm. It wasn't saying that Johnson wasn't the right guy for the job, but just sometimes the right change of voice at the right moment be all that makes the difference.
Yep.
And that's what the Cubs thought at that point in time. And you got to think that Lamar Consolidated is really excited about this new age and what might be with that new voice in charge of Chris Lane.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
It won't be a one-year fix. Yeah. This is going to take a while because there's a lot that has to change, I think, within the system, within the program, within the high school, within the community, everything. Everything has to change. have to be more prideful, have to be more confident. And it starts where?
Up top.
That's right. So if that happens, and slowly, there's going to be some victories within the program this year. They might not be wins, but there'll be victories in what they did in that particular game that they hadn't done before. So those victories, they'll take and put them away for now. Let them grow.
If you want to look for the roadmap, a couple teams on their schedule this year have executed pretty good turnarounds, right? Fort Bend Marshall wasn't that long ago that was a program that had struggled and wasn't putting out D1 talent, state championship talent. Fort Bend Kemner was another team just a couple of years ago, right?
Yep.
They were a one win team, 2-win team, something like that. Mm-hmm. They had a much better season. You could see you just multiple steps in the right direction go a long, long way. So I think we're excited to see it. We'll be bringing you the action here on Twitter and in the newspaper and everything. Mm-hmm. Again, this is just a preview show. What our plan is for this show, I think what you guys will see is be on the lookout for this on Sundays. We're going to be putting this show out as all of our scores come out throughout the weekend. Mm-hmm. Instant reaction, coach quotes, player quotes, thoughts and insights about what's going on. We're excited. We've got some really cool guests lined up to be coming on here to be talking to you. And it's not just going to be LCISD coaches, Needville coaches, and players. Big voices from around the state, guys with a lot of experience doing a lot of different things that we think you guys are really going to like what they have to say. We're really excited about this. We hope you guys join us for the ride. It should be another great football season.
It should. And it's starting on Thursday.
Starting on Thursday, man. Can't wait to do it. Joel's going to be taking in the action from that Fulshire Pearland game. I'm going to be at Trailer watching Worthing take on Terry, and then we'll be right back at it again Friday and Saturday as well. So, guys, again, thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you again. For Joel Luna, I'm Sam Cinta. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Fort Bend Herald Scoreboard Show.